Hey, welcome back to Everything Money. We are back again with our special guest in studio, Jimmy from Learn to Invest. Welcome, Jimmy. Your tagline, they have to have it, Jimmy. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jimmy.
My kids know that. And by the way, my 11-year-old son wanted to come out and meet you last night, but it was too late. But today we're talking about if you are at home investing and confused like I was for many years, you're probably wondering, I'm in a crappy stock or I'm in a great stock, but I'm down for years. What do I do? How do I get in and how do I get out? We're going to talk about that in this video. We're going to get Paul, Jimmy, and Mo's take on how to get out of a stock that you might wonder why you're even in at all. Paul, give me your thoughts.
So there's two kinds of stocks that you've bought. Value play and a hype play. You might sit there and everybody out here thinks they're doing a value play when they're really doing hype. So if you're doing a real value play, when the stock goes down, there's two things you do. One, reevaluate. And two, I guess you say three things to do, buy or sell. So Alibaba, for example, that's been our big holding.
Yep.
And Jimmy and I, we don't even talk very much. But when we recap the way Alibaba went, we both did the exact same thing. Baba went down another 30%. What'd I do? Okay, let me go reevaluate. I kept looking at all the data going, the things that everybody's worried about that's causing this crash are the things I'm not worried about. Okay, the future, it still looks good. Okay, I'm gonna buy more. That's all it was. Now, the value play drops because the story has changed. Because remember, a big chunk of value plays end up being duds.
Yep.
Sure. So you have to reevaluate. If all of a sudden Alibaba's falling because they're not expected to even be in existence in 2 years, different story. Let me exit this position, right? But the story stayed the same. It was just the market and the people's emotional reaction to this confounding drop that caused the stock to keep going. All right, I bought more. But if it does change, the story did change, I would sell. And it's hard to take yourself out of the emotional aspect of, oh my God, I'm losing 30% of my money, 40% of my money. What do I do? Yeah, it's hard. But that's where we're here trying to teach this whole process, not just about the numbers, about this whole process. If you're in a hype play, and what's a hype play, guys? Well, a hype play is one that needs somebody to pay you, the greater fool theory. And you might not think that. Those of you Tesla fanboys who think Tesla's this great value play, you're stupid. And that's okay. That's okay that you're stupid. I was stupid too. 20 years ago, I was dumb. But when the hype play, because here's what I think. Tesla hit $1,200 a share, fell to $800, $700, and every YouTuber who bought them started selling, even though they were recording better revenue and better profit than they even projected before. Mm-hmm. That makes no sense. Mm-hmm. So when you're in a hype play and it starts falling, very simple. Get out of it. Just get out of it.
So Paul, and Jimmy, you can comment on this too, is the folks that promote these, what we would term as a hype stock, that rarely has, profit quite yet. They say the same things you're saying.
Well, they say some version of it. They start quoting Warren Buffett and say, hey, this is great for the future. But then they realize that for Tesla to actually go to $30,000 a share, it would be bigger than basically the entire world's economy, which doesn't make sense. But it's okay. Don't look at logic. But you have to look at logic.
So, Jimmy, you must hear this too, is like, on these plays that have really, really dropped, the Palantirs, the Tattooed Chefs, the BNGOs, some of these fallen 70, 80%. They say the same thing you're saying now about value.
The only one we've been wrong on so far, when I say wrong, I mean the stock has gone higher, has been Tesla.
Yeah.
Every other one of them, when I said don't touch this, hype, they've all fallen 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80%. Tesla will get there.
So I'd like to hear it from you, Jimmy. Like, how do you get out of a value play? I mean, you've heard what Paul said. Where do you agree and disagree?
I mostly agree. I mean, if you're looking at just a value stock and you're looking to get out of it, for me, it's all about the fundamentals. When I buy a stock, I'm doing the research and coming up with, here's where I think the numbers are going to go. Here's where I think revenue is going to grow. Whether or not the stock goes up and down, I actually try really hard not to. If I didn't make YouTube videos, I wouldn't be paying attention to the current stock price. I would only, when they came out with new quarterly numbers, would I look at those numbers and then come up with a value, see if it's worth buying more. If it's not, okay, I'll wait.
See, I don't even do that. I don't even look at the quarterly numbers. I just sit there and wait for the community to tell me, Paul, do you see what happened to the stock you own? What happened? They just announced, nope, it's better than, it's what I thought was going to happen. I'm fine.
Yeah. And the quarterly numbers, the only reason why I say that is that it's more from the research perspective. So as an example, I bought Intel. And part of my theory on Intel was that they were large, that although, yes, AMD is making better chips right now, Intel had the resources and hopefully the desire to take that back. And, I had joked in a video that I'd done before, and I had said, you know what, if Intel came out tomorrow and said, you know what, we're no longer trying to innovate. The CEO says, we're no longer trying to innovate. We're not doing this. Obviously, I'm selling immediately. Somebody put up a comment on that video and said, yeah, but the CEO would never say that. And I was like, well, that's true, but you'll see it in the numbers. Are they spending money on research and development? Are they spending cash trying to put up new plants? Are they trying? You can
don't look at words, look at actions.
Yeah, it is obvious whether or not they're doing it.
Right.
If Intel says they were going to create the next generation of new chips and then they lowered their R&D spending, I'd probably sell. Am I up? Am I down? It's somewhat irrelevant to me. It is more of a, well, they fundamentally violated why I bought them. The Tesla, the hype stocks, I just try to stay away from them. I just have trouble, like Tesla, an amazing company. I've never driven the car, but I hear it's a great car. But overall, I'm willing, I'd love to buy them at a much, much cheaper price. I will wait for them to get there, and they will. Even if the stock doesn't fall, it might just move sideways. I don't know where it's at now.
It'll fall because of how crazy overvalued it is. The question becomes, I think it's worth $50 to $100 a share right now on the high side. Maybe it goes to $300 worth and the stock falls to $300. Okay, it's a buy now.
Well, that's the thing, is that the valuations are going to move. But I think, somebody like Cathie Wood's the perfect example of this. She was playing all hype, and her portfolio is down 50%. To me, that's insane. Yeah. That's a dangerous portfolio, because if I put my money in an ETF, I expect it to do at least what the average is doing. If I'm getting sort of, kind of buying a niche ETF, fine. But this is a niche ETF that the market is down 7 or 8%. That's down 50. That's scary.
I think 17 out of her top 20 holdings don't make money.
Don't even make money.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
So when you get this question, Jimmy, and again, let's double down on the concept of, I'm just a lonely investor. I obviously don't know what you guys know, the three of you, me or the viewer, for most of us. So at what point do I just wave the white flag ball and say, get out? I feel, because when
it starts bothering you, where you're checking it every 2 seconds and you're losing sleep and you're bothered by it, that's when you do it. You just go, listen, it's not worth it. Come learn a process. Come learn how to look at a stock, analyze it, and then the emotional aspect is 90% of it. 10% is the numbers. Guys, we have software. You can come in here right now and just go, hey, what's the stock worth? The question is, can you be okay when the stock price goes like this and you think it's worth up here? That's the hard part. The hard part isn't figuring out what it's worth. The hard part is seeing this happen and going, I'm still going to buy more.
And if you can't, that's fine.
Buy an ETF.
There's other opportunities out there for you to make money in a much safer, non-volatile way, and that's ETFs.
Yeah. So it's ETFs based on S&P and
Vanguard.
Those things, not based on Cathie Wood, Crashy Wood.
I would say it's... Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I was going to say, big, broad-based ETFs. But for me, all of it, the whole thing, the sleep test is very good. I was actually investing for a family member who they needed more dividends, and they asked me to put together a portfolio. And they were so worried about what was happening with that portfolio that after we were doing fairly well, we're up like 12%. The market on that year, a couple of years ago, was up a little less, but they had brought out about 8 or 9% in dividends, which is what we were after. But she was so panicked about it that I was like, we gotta stop this.
First off, your first mistake was managing money for a family member.
Yeah.
Mistake number one, I don't do it anymore because I once beat the market, and then my family member, well, I won't say what happened, but bottom line is I beat the market by 8%, and they complained about some sort of currency change. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, okay, we're done here. Yeah. I'm not doing it anymore. And I just look at it going, listen, to me, I do it my way with my money, because if I'm wrong, it hurts me. If I'm right, it helps me. That's it. Now, I do teach the process here, but the process I want to teach the most of is that emotional aspect.
Exactly. It's the sleep test. If you can sleep at night, when Alibaba was falling, at no point did I consider selling the stock. Zero. It was, I went over, checked it. Is everything, what I thought it was? I do more research. It is. Okay, good. Now, should I buy more?
Well, I was opposite that. Mo, as a former Bitcoin junkie, I mean, I was checking it multiple times a day.
Probably multiple times an hour.
I was making trades, hoping my wife didn't see any losses, right? You celebrate the wins and you hide the losses.
Nice.
And that's pretty much, that's like the second popular comment we get in our community is, What do I do when I'm in a loser? And thank you so much. I finally had the guts to sell out of some of these crazy stocks and get into something a little more.
I have I have zero FOMO about those things. Like I see GameStop going from $4 to $400, doesn't even faze me. I don't even think to myself, oh my God, did I lose out? It just doesn't even faze me. Even when I think of a stock, like I wanted to buy Signet, never pulled I wanted to buy Big Lots, didn't pull the trigger. They went up 5, 6, 7 times. Okay, fine. Even though those are ones that actually I looked at going, yeah, these look like value plays, and I just didn't pull the trigger. All right,
So for our folks at home, how long can someone expect? How long does it take to get to this state of mind? Because it's taking
years.
Me years.
Yeah, it's a long time.
But the thing is, like, don't get discouraged by that. Don't think to
attainable.
yourself, why should I even try?
Nope.
You're probably you're constantly trying to learn. I'm years away from where I want to be. I'm decades away from where I want to be. Am I further along than you? Absolutely. But I'm decades away from where I want to be. And you know when I'll get to my absolute best point? The day I die. Because that's when the learning stops.
And remember,
That's it.
Everybody starts at 0.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're going to get there.
And I'm I'm closer to you than I am to Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger.
In terms of your thought process?
Yeah, in terms of my thought process, my emotional stability on stocks. Because even when I see Alibaba going down, I'm like, man, maybe I'm wrong. Alibaba, I've once heard Charlie Munger going, yeah, we're not wrong on things.
Yeah.
He literally says that. He's like, yeah, we're not wrong on things.
Yeah,
Just
Jimmy,
like real estate. Whenever I buy a real estate play, I just look and go, I'm right.
Jimmy, you had this confidence too. We were talking last night over a drink. You said you don't even, when you make a play on a stock, you don't even care what anyone else is really saying about it. You're just so confident in it.
It's, you know what, I believe in the process. I believe in the research that I've done and whether or not the market is confirming it, because that's really all the stocks are doing. Yep. You know, if whether or not the market temporarily confirms it is somewhat irrelevant to me. If we've done the research and it looks like it should be trading higher, give it time, it'll get there. And that's why I'm the same way. From the people ask me, or they'll make a comment about, congrats on a stock or congrats on this or bad call on that. And I'm like, ooh, everyone, I've been doing YouTube for like 3 or 4 years now. Every call I've made so far, it's too soon. It's still too soon. Like, give it time. These are all long-term plays.
When people thank me, I go, thank me in 10 years. Don't thank me now.
Yeah, it's, and that, as far as selling a stock, when do you sell a stock? I think the key is the emotional side of it. If you can deal with the emotion, check your research. If you haven't done the research, sell it. If you have done it and you believe that you're correct, give it time. Just let it play out. Don't worry about whether or not everybody else agrees with you. If you're playing what everybody else does, you're bound to get hurt.
If this sounds good to you, click the link below, everythingmoney.com. Check out Jimmy, Learn to Invest. You can subscribe to him. See you next video.